First presentation is on highway safety updates. Bill Bell, who's the Executive Director for the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, and I'll turn it over to Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. All right, good morning. All right, we'll start off with the daily fatality summary that we look at every day. Does everyone get that here? Does everyone get the daily? You got it? Dick, you need to get that? This is the new one. So we used to have a PDF that went out every day, and it was a static document, and so now you can click on any of these numbers, and you see the tabs at the bottom, and you can key in on alcohol involvement, commercial vehicle involvement, motorcycle, non-motorized, which would be bike ped, and then restraint usage. And this is a picture of the dashboard. So this is not the interactive one. But you can see right now, this was as of yesterday, we were sitting at 549 fatalities for the year. So 549 people have died on our highways this year, compared to 650 last year. So this is the lowest total that we've had since pre-COVID. So that's the trend we want to be on. And what Ed Harding is our data guru, and he developed this dashboard. And then one thing that differentiates this dashboard from almost any other state, I think possibly any state, is we talk about the number of days where lives were not lost, which would be 58. So we've had 58 days where there's been no fatalities on our highways. So that's roughly, oh man, I should have tried to do math. All right, 20%, roughly 20% of the days. And that might be a little high, but if we can do that, we need to keep increasing the number of days that we have no fatalities. And we look at things like right here, 47% of these fatalities were unbuckled. But how does that compare? You look at the previous years, 51, 56, so that's the lowest since pre-COVID, and maybe the lowest we've seen in a long time. I'd have to go back and look at 10 years, 20 years back, but when I was here from 2011, 2016, we didn't have anything, we didn't have a unbelted fatality percentage that low. So that may be the lowest we've seen in a long time, maybe ever. And we look at all the age groups, they're all down except there's two, ages 21 to 24, they're up 15%. And then you look at 85 and up group, they're up slightly. We'll talk about our emphasis areas here in a minute, but that's relevant. And here's the link to the daily fatality dashboard, which I'm sure you all will get access to this slideshow. So, okay. But yeah, you can always contact me, and I'll send it to you as well. Okay, as we've talked about this before, we have two branches, education branch and the grants branch. And so I'm not going to hit on this too much because we've talked about this, but we have grantees like SAD. I know Carol might be online, but Carol's been great for our education side of highway safety. Ford's Driving Skills for Life, that's an advanced driver training class, and that will be, last year was in April, not sure when that's going to be, but they've told us they're going to be back every year since they now have 2 plants in Kentucky. So where is our opportunity? We have plenty of opportunities. Seatbelt usage. So in the past, from 22 to 23, am I saying this right? 22 to 23, our seatbelt usage went from 86% to 89.4%, which is great. We've just been told that the 23 to 24 number, it went down, back down to 87.9. Which baffles me, because when we go back, when we look at the unbelted fatalities, that's the lowest ever. And so I wasn't quite expecting our observed seatbelt usage to go down. So the University of Kentucky, they have a team of people, they go around the state and they observe people driving at certain places, and they calculate the observed seatbelt usage for the state. And so they're telling us it actually went down 1.5%, which to me doesn't make, I've already talked to Reg about this, and I'm like, Reg, what's going on? And so he was like, I don't know. And so that's, I'm not questioning their work, but on the face, it doesn't make sense. And so and hopefully that unbelted fatality rate will keep going down, and they'll know it doesn't make sense. And so there is a big program for seatbelt usage that we're in the second version of this. Let me skip ahead. It's the High Five program. And so it deals with enforcement, education, and engineering in 5 counties that have this issue. They have a high unbelted fatality rate, or they have low observed seatbelt usage, or they're just in the top 20 in highway safety concerns. And so we picked these 5 counties, and I don't see my notes here, but I know that Lyon County, Perry, Pike, those are 3 of the counties that we're having the High Five program this year. And so we will do observed seatbelt surveys. And so we'll do that, a pre-survey, mid, and a post. And so the last time we did this in version 1.0, which was funded by NHTSA, this version 2.0 that's funded by state funds. And so in the first version, we had this group called the Presser Group. And so they're an independent group. They do the surveys, they administer the program in conjunction with us, but they're responsible for the surveys. We don't get involved in the surveys. So some of these counties in the first version went up 3%, some went up as much as 8%. And then in between. And so this report went to NHTSA, and so they've hailed this as a success, and thus we're doing it again with state monies. And so the idea, and so we tell this to the state highway engineer, the secretary's office at transportation, and they said, well, why don't we do this in all rural counties? Okay, all right, that's a challenge. But what we've come up with through our talks with NHTSA, we're going to incorporate this model into our existing occupant protection grants. And so this is the enforcement grants. We will add the education and engineering piece, and the engineering piece as much as we can. And so we have, through the cabinet, we have an engineering consultant on contract who is able to help with the engineering side of this. And the engineering side is basically what the safety circuit rider does for UK, goes out into these counties, looks at low cost or no cost improvements that we can handle and pretty easily and pretty quickly. Could be signage, could be striping, could be vegetation, but something that, if there's something that obscures the vision and you're trying to turn left onto a roadway, that needs to be removed. Or there could be a need for improved signage like the chevrons on a turn. And so that's what the safety circuit rider does, and that's what our engineering consultant will do in this program. Let me get back here. Drug driving. I just spoke with a member of the cannabis committee, and that's coming out of public protection. And so they have a committee that is named by the governor. And so they're talking about the pre-implementation of medicinal marijuana coming on board in January. And so it sounds like they're going to be ready. The licensing will happen it sounds like December. And so sometime either in January or early 2025, this medicinal marijuana will be available to patients. And so our concern, obviously, is we don't want people driving on medicinal marijuana or any other drug. And so drug driving has increased over the years. And, our ask to them was, we have drug recognition experts. We have AROD officers, which is advanced roadside impaired driving experts. And so what about messaging? What kind of messaging would be good? And right now, I think we're going to go with a stronger drug driving message this holiday or for the holidays. But it's going to involve all drugs, whether it's anything that's impairing, of course. And so that could be prescribed drugs as well. If it says on the back that you cannot operate or should not operate machinery on the back of your pill bottle or your prescription bottle, that includes a vehicle. And so people need to know that. Bike Ped, we're actively doing road safety assessments in Lexington and as well as Louisville. We started in Louisville. We went to Lexington. They had a big spike last year in bike ped fatalities. It's come down dramatically this year, so that's good news. Post-crash care. And Dick, I may need to have a sidebar with you on this, but we have some grants for EMS that are trauma related. And so I know the legislators had a question about one of our grants that deals with KIPRIC. And so I might need to tap your brain on that. And then
Jump in just a second. There was something they attended, I don't know, there was a post-crash care summit held in August. And one of the things that they talked about is the post-crash care summit. And I've just done some research on this beforehand. It has to do with pre-hospital whole blood. This whole program about pre-hospital whole blood is kind of interesting. Out in the far west, where it may be 2 to 3 hours between a small hospital and a trauma center or something larger, they actually developed a drive-through blood program where the ambulance can call ahead and say, hey, I'm about 45 minutes out, do you have blood ready? They'll drive to the ER and they'll actually pass you whole blood and send them on through. But in urban areas, and I'm not sure what's going on in Lexington, but in Louisville, the Louisville Metro EMS actually looking at developing a program to do whole blood, pre-hospital whole blood, to help improve drivability in an urban setting. And the Trauma Advisory Committee has actually set up a working group of Chris Luckett, who is in Louisville Metro Reinvestment. A lot of research gathering protocols, best practices around the country. There have been a number of physicians from across the state who have joined us. We're going to be working on some recommendations on how we might potentially implement such a program here in Kentucky. And I've asked him to include, he's our representative from the Kentucky Board of EMS, I've asked him to include the KB's staff on there. So whatever we do, whatever we come up with in terms of protocol, is done in sync with the Kentucky Board of EMS. So they've got to modify their protocol as we get ready to come up with some recommendations. We can do this in a coordinated manner with the Kentucky Board of EMS. So we grabbed something from that seminar, which was a national EMS focused thing run by Highway Safety, and we're going to really looking at developing that here in Kentucky. We're working on it.
Yeah, that's great info. And I saw a stat that says 40 to 50% of people that end up dying because of a trauma are actually alive at the time of the crash or collision. And so yeah, if you have that, just another tool to help people survive that crash or that major trauma, that would be fantastic. And I would definitely keep Kiprick aware of that as well. Let's see, younger drivers. Let me skip ahead here. One more, got a couple more minutes. So the Office of Highway Safety is contracted with Cambridge Mobile Telematics. So does anyone have an insurance company that requires or suggests to have an app or a beacon, such as State Farm, where it tracks your driving? I do. And so I would encourage that because there's a lot of savings there, number one. But you know, we've got 5 drivers in our household. So just imagine the insurance bill on that. But anyway, that's a different story. But when I switched to this beacon and app-based policy, it helped tremendously. And I can watch and see what my progress looks like. I can see our kids, my wife. I try to have a better score than my wife because it does give you scores. And so her braking is not good, but that's why her brakes go out twice as fast as mine. But anyway, that's another sidebar. But yesterday I looked at one of my daughters, because she drives more than probably anybody in the family. And she was excellent in every category. And so it's like, you know, I think what I'm going to do as a carrot, any savings we get on insurance, I'm going to pass it on to them, just as a positive incentive. But Cambridge is behind. I think Cambridge Mobile Telematics, they do 83% of the insurance industry's apps. And so we decided, with Missouri's lead, Missouri's done this twice now. They've had a safe driving contest. And so there's a code that teenagers would put in the app when they download the app. They'll have to start with our webpage, check the terms and conditions, download the app, put in the code, and then start driving. And so there will be, for teen drivers under 18, there will be a parent notification trigger. Probably put the parents' email, and we send an email to the parents, make sure they're good with everything. And then the idea is to have the governor kick this off. We're hoping December 1. That would be ideal. And then after the contest is over, we want the governor to hand them the big checks. And so it could be a check for $2,500, could be 1,500, 1,000, 500. The more sponsors we get, the more prizes we can give, because we can't, at the state, we cannot pay out the prizes. So we have people like AAA, hopefully they'll be involved. We're in discussion, I know Cambridge is in discussion with them as well as others. AAA was involved with Missouri's contest. And so Missouri's done a couple different ones where one was individuals and companies. I think they're doing individuals and schools now. And so the school would get a bonus prize, and I think the winning company in the first contest they did, the company actually got a big check. And so, so that's the prizes to me are secondary. The first and foremost, we're getting the message out about safe driving, and here are some of the things that you need to look at. I think the categories are speed, braking, acceleration, cornering, which still baffles me because I've got a very low score on cornering. I don't understand that. And then distraction. So, and I've asked my agent, I'm like, why? I don't understand the cornering. I don't take corners at high rates of speed. And he said, yeah, no one understands that. So I was like, okay, great. Let me go back. Go ahead. Hopefully, hopefully December 1, we have to have everything in place, such as the sponsors and so forth, before we can have that press conference and kick it off. Well, I know the company Cambridge will be reaching out to insurance companies to see if they want to sponsor. As far as discounts, if that's what you're talking about, okay. Yeah, the contest. I mean, they should know about it. They should have information on this. Either it's from us or from Cambridge, because they're supposed to offer it. They're supposed to offer a sponsorship opportunity to any insurance company. Let's see. Legislation, the cabinet is supporting legislation for work zone speed cameras, as we have in the past 2 years. It passed out of committee last year, 20-2, but did not get a vote on the floor. I think it's picking up a little more steam now. And then also the governor's office, as well as the House, will be pushing a hands-free bill. It's going to be tweaked because it's been presented the last 2 or 3 years by Representative Tipton. I think it's going to be tweaked, and I'm not sure if Representative Tipton is going to be on this one. He might be a co-sponsor. Not sure, but there may be a new representative on this legislation. It's overdue, frankly. Kentucky is what I call the donut hole in some areas, and this is one of them. All the surrounding states have hands-free legislation or laws. We don't. All the surrounding states have the ability to put speed cameras in work zones. We don't. And so it would be nice to have that, and frankly, it's well overdue in both areas. And if anybody drives on the street and says that distracted driving is not a problem, they're not looking. They don't. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. The Strategic Highway Safety Plan, I've talked about this before, but so we're up in 2 areas. One of those is drivers 85 and above. And they could be just anybody on the street or that's using roadways that's 85 and above. But one of our emphasis areas or newer emphasis areas will be older drivers. We're also breaking out motorcycles as a separate emphasis area, as well as commercial vehicles. And so those are going to be 3 new emphasis areas. Let's see. This plan will be effective January 1. And so if anyone's welcome to attend the meetings that we have for Strategic Highway Safety Plan. So if you're interested in attending, I will send you the link or the invite if it's an in-person meeting. So, and that is all I had today. Sorry for going over. Okay. Yeah, I can understand that. And I have a 94-year-old uncle that still drives. I actually passed him on Bardstown Road in Louisville, and I had to do a double take. I was like, that's Louis. What is he doing? You know, I didn't know he was still driving. And so I saw my cousin and I said, why is he still driving? He feels like he's fine. It's something that is going to be, we're going to have to face this a lot more as far as how long should people be driving? Do you want to give up your keys? Who wants to give up their keys? Almost no one. And I testify, or I was interviewed back when we launched the vision screening a couple months ago, and told a story about my daughter being hit by a 93-year-old woman. And I talked to her son, and we're about the same age. And I said, why is she still driving? And he said, well, we've been talking about her not driving. Now, I guess she won't drive anymore. I was like, I hope not. This could have been a lot worse. I mean, she said she had bruising on her, my daughter had bruising on her face, and it could have been a lot worse. And so it's something we're going to have to face a lot more and maybe make some really hard decisions in the near future. And so yeah, limited transportation is an issue. I know that TARC and as well as Tank in Northern Kentucky they're reducing their routes because they're just not getting as many riders as they need, and they just can't afford to have that many buses out there with very few riders. I know that there are other services that could be available, but yeah.
You did mention, kind of incorrectly, I have actually posted on my wall in the office, in the break room, the notice that as of January, everybody's going to have that vision check and have a vision screen. I'm not sure how this is going to work. This creates real challenges. They've got to find professionals who, screen your vision beforehand. But I've actually posted it at the office outside of our break room with a note that says this takes effect January 1st. So they're aware of that.
Yeah. Now that's so Matt Cole, he's the commissioner of motor vehicles. He's heading up that effort. And so we've helped them with securing, I want to say 75 to 100 vision screening units that will be placed in the regional sites. I think Louisville and Lexington are getting a few more. Your heavier population areas will be getting more, but at least every regional site will have a vision testing unit. And so if someone does not go to their professional, their doctor, then they can have it done at the regional site. But there is a form that the doctor would fill out, give to the patient, and they would bring it to the regional driver's licensing center. Sorry, Dick, did that answer your question? Or? Okay. Okay. They feel like they don't feel like they can or should.
It is my understanding that doctors don't have to. It's not an obligation. If physicians or whoever report any other
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, there's no obligation for a family member to tell either. But should it be done? Probably. A lot of times it's a police officer that reports based on something that's happened on the roadway. And then you go to the medical review, and then the license is taken away. All right.
This viewer asked a question: how does the continued communication recommending online renewal best with this? Renewing your driver's license online. I was just told that online best yesterday, late the next June. Apparently, as I understand this, viewer saying that yesterday she was informed that the online renewal system fine on January 1st, there was a IEP system. So how does that mesh with the online version of the person?
I know the online will continue. I don't want to speak for Matt on this, Matt Cole, but I think the form will take care of that, but let me make sure. And then I'll send something back to Steve on that. But I can find out pretty quickly, probably before this meeting's over. Okay.